For our practice and our time together. I'm Jen. We have 60 minutes together or whatever time you have. I'm so excited to share in some slow flow yoga with you. I have my yoga blocks off to the front of my mat. A light set of dumbbells are a great alternative and could be useful as we work into exploring the hips, particularly as we're on the ground. And then I prepared already a towel or a blanket that's rolled up, kind of like a Tootsie Roll, to just give some length and cushion for the offering of supported bridge pose toward the end of practice. So if you have something like that, great. If you don't, I will give you all of the options, even if you want to opt into something else just because it sounds best to your body. Katie, good to see you. I'm going to start some music. And as you come to settle in for this practice today, coming to arrive on your back as your body feels ready. You've heard me say before we got started officially that we're going to have a really lower back focused practice today. So as you come to settle into your body, certainly taking a few breaths to acknowledge really all the areas of your body, particularly, as I like to say, any parts of your body that are being a bit communicative today. Maybe parts of your body that are really making themselves known to you that might need some extra care or attention. But then perhaps with maybe just this bent knee, kind of little wiggle, almost hip bone to hip bone. So I'm not really swaying the knees, but I'm just kind of shifting my weight across the small of my back. Maybe just greeting your lower back. I don't know about you all, but I've heard that recommendation that in order to encourage your plants to grow, you can talk to your plants. I do the same with my lower back and often hamstrings. If you talk and say hello, maybe they'll be responsive to your care and your acknowledgement. Taking some time to maybe even close your eyes and really check in with yourself, not only physically as we've been doing, but how are you mentally, emotionally, all of the full self of you arriving to your mat right here. Maybe elevating a few deeper breaths in your body if that feels welcome. Maybe feeling something release as you breathe out beyond just your exhale. Anything that may be lingering in your mind that you can let go of even for our time here on the mat. And then as your body feels ready, I'm going to have my feet planted a little wider than the hips, my knees bent, and I'm going to let the knees kind of roll inward toward one another and just open right back out. And I'm actually going to rest my hands on my belly as I do this. So this is called constructed rest, when the knees kind of knock knee toward one another. I'm hoping you might feel just a little bit of opening across the outer hip and the lower back, and it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just this little bit of motion. My hands are on my belly so I can just kind of feel the breath moving and notice if my back is arching, just drawing a little energy in. And then whenever you feel ready, I'm going to let my arms rest on my sides and start to lift the legs off the ground and just take a few movements here, rocking side to side perhaps, maybe rolling the ankles, noticing if the distance you're traveling is requiring a little hold of your arms, or maybe you try not to use your arms and use your core to determine how far this is going. It's just a different way to approach these movements with how much rotation, keeping your tailbone down. And then when you're ready, let's take the legs up toward the ceiling. Feel that opposing energy of your hips going into the ground, your heels maybe energizing toward the ceiling or sky. You don't have to lock the knees, just finding space and breath. And then I'm going to take the legs at the same time and just sway them a little farther from my body and then a little bit closer, just this little bit of front to back. So kind of waking up at the hip flexor a smidge, building just a little bit of energy that requires me to draw in at the low ribs so my back is not arching again. This energy trying to keep your back really stable. A few more rounds here. And then from that position where the legs are straight up, let's hold the outsides of the thighs and open up into a wide V. And I'm going to hold here a few breaths, and I am holding just to kind of get my inner thighs welcome to the idea of a stretch without going too far. I like to roll my ankles or even flex and point the feet, continuing to feel that firmness of hip bones on the mat. And then remember, just a bit ago, we swayed bent knees. You could see how it feels to sway this wide V shape. And I encourage you to take it really slow, because now if you're not using your arms, there's a little bit of inner thigh strength required. And that range of motion, the longer legs can end up creating some heaviness and momentum. So being really mindful. If it feels better to go back to bent knees, please feel free. Just a different suggestion and way of warming into the hips and the back. And then when you feel ready, bringing the legs back together, straight up, and I'm gonna give the knees a little hug in, maybe to the chest, maybe a little wider, this wind releasing hug where you might feel a little catch now at the inner thighs or the hip flexors when you give a squeeze. And then can we meet knees still lifted, but knees almost kind of directly above your hips? We're gonna build a progression into a variation of dead bug. And I'm gonna start with my arms straight up, but just moving the legs, dropping toes to the floor, one leg at a time. So I'm actually not bending my knee or changing the knee bend. I'm just like that little hinge at the hip. If you wanna start to add the opposite arm reaching over your head at the same time, feel free. If it does feel interesting to you to start to maybe kick the legs straight and or lower, right? This just becomes your pattern of movement where you're really feeling that stability in your core. So low ribs drawing in, nothing is gonna arch. And sometimes I find the slower I go, the more I have to really breathe and the more sassy this gets. And then whenever you're ready, let's give the knees one more hug. I'm going to encourage you once again to rock side to side. Maybe you decide that it's going to feel nice to rock along your spine. I encourage you to do a few more of each one. So if you want to change to rolling along your spine, take a couple of those, massage your back on the ground, and then using momentum to either kick up or roll to one side so we can make our way to be seated. So good to see you all again. I think that was just sort of jazz hands moment, not sure why. I'm going to face the long edge so I'm a better visual for you, but we are going to take the limbs out to the side. So if you want to face a long edge of your mat, go ahead. From feet planted, knees bent, let's bend the right knee and take the left leg out long. And give yourself a little wiggle here. It doesn't matter how bent the knee is or how straight the leg is. I do hope that you can sit really tall on your sitting bones. And I'm going to go side bend and side bend both directions. So kind of finding this sweet spot where you feel really stable, the hips stay really connected to the floor, but there's a little bit of softness in your upper body without feeling collapse. And then when you're ready, we will meet straight in the spine to help the left leg bend and tuck it under the right knee. So we'll come to be cross-legged. If this feels complex in your body, you can elevate and sit up on a blanket or a pillow. And then let's take right hand on left knee. Left arm will cross over the top onto your right knee. And then as you gently kind of press down, shoulders away from ears, maybe you tuck your chin and actually round your upper back. I'm going to turn sideways. So maybe seeing how it feels to kind of draw your shoulder blades apart as you press the shoulders away from the ears. You don't have to seek the biggest thing possible here, but just that little bit of stretch maybe in the trapezius muscles, the shoulders. And then on a big breath in, unwind, come to cactus arms, kind of like goalpost. And you might oppose that with a bit of a heart opener. So I'm lifting my sternum gently toward the ceiling. I like to draw my chin in, but you might let your head drop back, but still feel like your lower back is long. And then can you straighten your spine and do a little chest press with those arms? So as I do this, I'm actually trying to not move my back. I'm staying really strong. Though I just realized that could be a fun dance move. No. Okay, nice and stable. No dancing. And then when you're ready, let's sweep the arms behind, lift the heart, unwind the legs. And again, just feel some breath to expand your front body. You might shimmy and wiggle into bent elbows. And acknowledge too, you might move your hips a little closer or farther from your feet. So one thing as we think about taking care of our lower back, quite often if we're tight in our front body, that makes our lower back grouchy. So we're going to open up a lot today. And then when you're ready, I'm going to sit tall and take both legs just straight briefly and kind of pedal through the feet. I love to roll the wrists and move the fingers around because we'll be kind of on our wrists eventually. And then let's go the other direction. So left knee will bend. Right leg out straight, kind of this hurdler or half butterfly shape. I like to pull my hips around a little bit so I'm forward on my sit bones, and then we'll take our side to side movements one more time. So again, that nice kind of combination of stability at the lower back and the hips, and then just really lengthening up and out of that space. A few more rounds of breath, partnering your inhales and exhales in some way. And then I'm going to pause with my spine tall to help my right foot come under my left knee. So we're cross-legged the other way. Little wiggle to the sitting bones. Left hand on right knee. Right arm over the top, remembering that I'm hopefully mirroring you as I'm facing you. And then similar setup. Maybe this is, again, kind of an upper back stretch. See if you can keep your shoulders away from your ears. Maybe you close your eyes so you're more aware of sensation and not what the shape looks like. That does not matter. Just feeling into where there could be space with a big breath in and a big breath out. Use an in-breath to unwind. Take that moment of finding your cactus, perhaps heart opener, just feeling a breath that expands your chest. And then right away, hands behind you, lean back and again, unwind. If you want to take a few more of those, I call them kind of shoulder dips. You might even need the space today to lift your hips up and scoot them forward and back. That can create a little more stretch, but clearly added pressure on the wrist. And then anything else you might need, maybe it would feel lovely to windshield wiper the legs a little bit to give some movement again at your lower back and hips. I'm going to take another moment to just straighten the legs and actually interlace the fingers and find some kind of infinity symbols, maybe with the wrists. And as you're ready, as we're all kind of warmed up here for wrists, hands, fingers, legs, let's make our way to tabletop pose. So you might be reversing your body or turning back to face what you've determined the top of your mat. And if you do happen to have your blocks or dumbbells, I'm going to encourage you to put them outside of your hands so they'll be readily available soon in case you want to join me with them. And then in your tabletop pose, feeling the ground beneath your body and let that be a place to root into to continue to move through your spine. Cows and cats. I often do these with my eyes closed. I really like taking an inhale to cow, right? Can you feel that heart opener with cow pose, and then exhale to cat, almost like you're squeezing in your low belly to find that space in your lower back. Move in other directions as feel right to your body. Front to back, side to side. We're going to linger here a bit and get a little bit more movement in the spine and the back. So landing back in your tabletop, I'm going to face you just for visual. Let's bring the right fingertips to kind of hover by your right ear with the elbow bent. And I'm going to open and twist to the right and then exhale right elbow toward left. Now, depending on how your back is feeling, you might make this twist just your upper back. So you might keep stability at your hips. You might be rotating at your hips. So notice what feels right in your body. One is not better. Just notice what serves you here. Can we meet with the right elbow open? Can you sweep your right arm straight and stretch it behind you? Maybe your hips follow back toward your feet briefly. And then I'm going to sweep that right arm all the way up and around, level my chest and hips, land the right hand stretching way out, stretch your tailbone away, maybe so much so that your left forearm can drop to the floor. Single arm puppy pose. Feeling this expansive stretch in your right side body. Again, can you keep your right shoulder now away from your ear? Maybe you let your head kind of drop toward the floor. Take a breath in that expands the backs of the ribs on your right side. Exhale, soften your right armpit toward the mat. Take a breath in to come back to tabletop pose. Felt like a good time to say armpit just to make sure we're not taking ourselves too seriously. And I'm going to face you. And then when you're ready, it just feels like a rude interruption to the Zen dialogue, doesn't it? Left fingertips hovering behind the head. In breath, open to the left. Exhale, draw left elbow toward right. And similarly, just take a few of these where you're curiously noticing, what do you want to move or not? Is it a rotation where even your hips are shifting, or is it just more upper back? Take a few more, not worrying about destination, just traveling with breath. And then we pause again with the left elbow open briefly. Can you stretch the left arm long, sweep it behind you? Maybe you look over your left shoulder as the hips go back slightly, and then sweep it all the way around to that single arm puppy. So chest and hips level. Left hand pressing palm into the floor. Your right forearm might drop. Keep that active press through your left palm. So there's kind of energy to lift you and lengthen, and then just allowing gravity to draw your body toward the floor. What would it feel like, again, to breathe purposefully into the back of your left ribs and exhale, soften. Let's make our way back to tabletop pose, where you'll either stay and find more movements of your spine, or if heading to the belly is in your practice today, I'm gonna walk my hands forward, come to a low plank, pause here, tops of feet down. Notice that hopefully it feels like your lower belly is in line with your entire body. Hug the elbows in, and can you lower down as one unit, almost like your chest is gonna land before your thighs. So really straight line in the body. And then from the ground, maybe you join me. I'm going to inhale to baby cobra and exhale, release. And baby cobra sometimes feels like, because there's baby in the title, like somehow it's not worthwhile. It's just a little press up, but the legs are active, finding that breath. Maybe you stay and hold. Maybe while you're on the belly here, you'd enjoy some spontaneous shoulder movements. So the elbows are lifted, the fingertips are tented, hands are wide, and we snake these kind of lift and drops of the shoulders. You can do all of this from tabletop. So if you are finding your lower back is feeling a little sensitive today, sometimes these shoulder drops feel better to me when I'm in tabletop. I feel like I have a little bit more control over what's happening at my back. When you feel ready from whatever it is that you've been exploring, can we meet in tabletop? Take your time, lift through the belly, making your way there. And let's take a pass at full puppy pose. Curl your toes under, hands forward. Feel that stretch of your spine. Tailbone up and away, head drops through the hands, feeling that press through your palms to lift your shoulders. And then let your heart, your ribs soften toward the floor. When you're ready, we come back to tabletop. We're going to do a little movement and a position of the hips here momentarily, where I know it's going to help me provide space if my hands are elevated. So I'm going to bring in my blocks. You can use dumbbells and kind of rest your hands on the bells. You don't have to do anything with height, but I'll just kind of show you where we want to be mindful as we move here. So I'm in tabletop, hands elevated. So I still feel like I have a strong neutral spine. I'm going to lift up my right leg, knee bent, and find a hip opener. I'm going to face you briefly, almost like you're trying to stack your left hip over your right. Maybe send a little weight back into your left leg. Maybe you roll through the ankle. What would it feel like to stretch your right side body without crunching your lower back? And then when you're ready, let's draw the hips level. Can you keep your right knee hovering off the floor? Draw it forward just a little bit and land your toes, almost like you're about to sprint, like a starter sprint on a track. And I'm going to turn my right knee open to the side and then let my hips go back and front. So this is the shape. If I don't have my hands elevated, my back is often rounded here because of what that requires in my hip. So just kind of notice, you can move where your right foot is. And the offer is to maybe take a few breaths where you are kind of sending your hips back toward your left foot. Maybe keeping chest and chin up as a way to make sure you haven't caved into your back body. And then when you're ready, forward, weight over wrists. Bring the right knee back down. Let's give our wrists a little break. The suggestion is to see if you can walk your hands back and sit. You might sit on the feet with them uncurled. You might widen the knees. Sometimes that can give me better space so my knees and quadriceps feel better. You might prefer to actually come onto the knees. So sitting is not required here. And let's again just kind of roll out through the wrists. Maybe take a shoulder roll or two, just kind of realigning and take a little reset. And then we'll find those hip movements again. I'm just going to walk my way back to tabletop. Again, I'm going to elevate the hands. So maybe you kind of saw where that would be purposeful. And once you're set in tabletop, maybe elevated hands, lift up and open that left hip. So again, trying to almost imagine that you're stacking left hip over right, trying to keep your shoulders level, your elbows soft, and again, your lower back long. So just notice that imagery of not crunching your lower back. And then when you're ready, we'll start to level out the hips. The knee stays off the ground just a bit. Can you sweep it closer to your left hand to land your left toes kind of next to your right knee? And then I'm going to turn the left knee open. Notice again what happened to your back. Just by doing that, keep your chin and chest up and maybe your hips shift back and front a little bit. This is your place to explore. This can be kind of a lot of stretch. It's almost figure four-like here on the ground. If it feels okay to pause for a few breaths with your hips back, just seeing where that sweet spot is, where you're noticing something, creating a little space. And then we'll unwind, shoulders over wrists, left knee down next to right. Let's move your blocks out of the way. And we are going to head to the knees. So an offer to join me getting there. I'm going to inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. I'm going to keep rounding my spine, tucking my chin, walk the hands back toward the knees and slowly roll up. This purposeful articulation of your spine. Stacking shoulders, neck, head. Once you're there, I'm going to take a reach up and a throw down. Like a freedom breath, reach up, stretch up, and just let your arms go. A few more of those if that's feeling somewhat liberating to your shoulders. Maybe you pause somewhere, and then with your hands at your heart, we'll put a little bit more weight in your right knee and step your left foot forward to a low crescent lunge position where I'm going to encourage you to bring your hands to your back pocket. So fingertips down, thumbs outside of your hips. Feel free to go kind of in that forward softening down type of lunge. Feel free to be drawing back. I find I get different sensation and different stretch depending on where I connect. Take a few breaths to pause somewhere. Hands at your lower back serving as a reminder to keep your back long, keep your low ribs tucking in. Maybe draw your elbows closer together like little grasshopper wings. And then can we all meet shifted back? So kind of sending your weight back toward your right knee so it feels like your right shoulder is stacked. I'm going to keep my left hand where it is. I'm going to twist to the left and bring my right fingertips outside of my left thigh. Use an in-breath to draw length in your spine. Use an exhale to gently twist. You might push a little into your right fingertips, but try not to move the left knee. Could you bring your low waist in to create just a little more rotation from your core? And then let's unwind, hands at heart. Bring your left knee back next to your right knee, and then take some time here. Maybe you enjoyed those freedom breaths of reaching and dropping. Maybe you want to sit and take that added stretch of the legs. Maybe you want to roll the wrists or even find some side bending. Give yourself space to check in with what are you noticing in your body here. When you feel ready, we go to set up that second side. So a little more weight in your left knee to walk your right foot forward, just kind of setting up your stance. And then hands again in back pockets. The only thing I would say is if you kind of shift your hips front to back, I typically like to check that I can always see my right big toe. That to me is usually a sign my right knee is going to stay happy with me. And where's again that spot that you want to pause? Hands at your lower back serving as a reminder to draw length, kind of tuck your low ribs into your waist so you're not protruding and creating a back bend that we don't want here. And then when you're ready, draw the weight back to kind of land left shoulder over left knee. And I'm going to keep my right hand at the small of my back and gently twist to the right with left fingertips kind of coming to the outside of that right thigh. So giving yourself some moment here to, again, draw tall. Really feel like you're elongating from your tailbone to the crown of your head. And again, maybe see if you can find more twist by really drawing in at the low waist rather than forcing with a push of your arms. And then we'll unwind to face the front. Bring your right knee back next to your left knee, and let's take a full flow to rinse it out. I'm going to reach up and then really thoughtfully hinge. Keep the low ribs drawing up as you hinge and land in tabletop. And then what do you prefer for movements? Do you want to take some time in cows and cats and then head to a child's pose? Do you want to head back onto the belly or work even a high upright cobra? Anything that really would serve your body here. Knowing that we have this kind of acute focus on lower back, but we have so many complementary things happening. Where would it feel best to land? I do invite you to come to a moment or two where you're still in a puppy pose or a child's pose, where you can literally kind of let your brain catch back up to your breath, back to your body. As you're ready, we're going to make our way to tabletop and begin our journey towards standing at the top of the mat. I'm going to set one of my blocks in front. I like having that there as a visual and touch point. And maybe you spend time in downward dog as your progression to get there. So I'm going to curl the toes under, lift the tailbone, find your puppy pose spine. Do you remember that? That really big traction of your back body and your knees bend to create that ability for you to hinge at the waist, almost like a deadlift sensation. Your legs don't have to go straight. You also don't have to be in down dog. You can be in puppy. If you are in down dog, you might pedal the heels for a few breaths. I really invite you to shake your head yes and no. Just let your head be tugged to the floor. And when you're ready to walk, let's do so. Bend the knees a lot. Look where you're going and walking such that you lift up the hands when your back says, I need room. And we make it to the top of the mat. Hands press into a block, dumbbell, shins, or thighs. Maybe you bend and extend through the legs. Maybe you cow and cat your spine a little bit. Maybe you head to ragdoll. Here's the way I've been framing this lately. What is the conversation here happening between your lower back and your hamstrings and gravity? Can you find a sweet spot where they all feel like they're being acknowledged in some way? And then when you're ready, lift your chin, your heart, and rise up reverse swan dive or roll up head last. It is entirely up to you. When you make your way upright, taking a moment, maybe hands at heart, feeling your feet, feeling grounded, feeling upright, and we're going to work into some standing shapes that will again kind of play this complement of lower back and all this supporting team. From the top of your mat, feet hip distance, let's step your right foot back, land it flat, though it's probably slightly angled to the front of your mat. And can I just show you from the front? Let's make sure your feet are separated left and right. If you're really on a balance beam here, that's going to add potential stress to your body. So we want to make sure you have space left and right between your feet. Left hand at the small of your back. Right hand reaches forward. I'm going to sweep my right arm around and open my body to the right. And then I'm going to sweep it back to the front and bend my left knee a little bit like warrior one. So I'm going to kind of go back and forth. Legs are long. I'm opening up to the right. And then I'm going to land myself in warrior one, finding this sweet spot through this movement of how your hips feel as we eventually hold in warrior one. I'm going to bring both hands to my back pockets. Warrior one is a really awkward and complex shape. My hope is you're finding a stretch in your right hip that your body is attempting to face forward. I arch my back really easily here, so I need to tuck my low waist in and feel like I'm staying really strong and straight in this shape. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Let's lengthen the legs, hands come around. We're going to turn our bodies to be facing to the right edge of the mat. We are going to walk the feet then though to be in a balance beam. So left foot is facing forward, right toes are still kind of angled, but now we're in a balance beam. Let's bring hands to hips. Find maybe a couple of almost little shifts or circles of your hips. I'm going to kind of pause with my right hip slightly to the front, and then with a long spine, let's hinge and come back, preparing for triangle. So I'm going to hinge at the waist, stick my right hip out, find that little stretch, and then come right back up. Start to engage your left ribs so you're feeling really lifted. And then when you're ready, let's pause in that hinge triangle with left arm kind of sliding onto left leg. How about right hand either staying at your hip or coming to the small of your back? So here, my hope is you can kind of press gently into both hands to feel your right shoulder draw up and back, maybe a little bit more open. Yes. Feel that length of your spine. Feet are strong, knees feel soft, spine feels expansive. And when you're ready, push through the feet to rise up, lift up, stretch up tall. Hands come to heart. I'm going to turn all 10 toes to face the long edge of the mat. And my feet are kind of straight. Sometimes we're toes out, sometimes we're toes in. Let's just have feet, straight. And I'm going to do almost like goddess, cow, and cat. So I'm going to start to hinge at the waist, bend my knees, hands on my thighs. And I'm going to cat my spine, lengthen my legs, and then cow my spine, sit into the knees, sit into the hips. And just kind of moving in this cow-cat fashion in a way that feels liberating to your body. It doesn't have to be huge. Find your breath. And can we meet in the bent knee, sort of cow spine? So heart open, chest open. And from here, I'm going to push through my feet and stretch myself back up tall. Exhale, hands to heart. From here, I'm going to walk my feet a little closer and turn back to face the front of the mat. Not really in a pose, but just sort of landing 10 toes forward, hips forward, just to tell my body I am back to hip neutral position. Let's walk your right foot up next to your left and immediately single leg Tadasana where right knee will lift. Feel free to hold something near you for support. Couple of suggestions to explore. Keeping your hips level, could you use your right hip flexor strength to lift the knee higher? So a lot of times we want to stretch our hip flexors, but if we sit a lot, our hip flexors actually need strength as well. So feel that lift, feel that connection at your hip flexor. And then when you're ready, right foot will land next to left foot. I'm going to just kind of take a little march and roll the ankles. You might take a gentle rotation of your spine. When we work one-sided for a long time, our back is helping with that. So I'm just going to release out briefly and we'll go to the second side. So back to the top of your mat. I might be the only one that's not there. Feet hip distance. We'll step the left foot back. Again, warrior one, kind of exploration. Both feet are firmly planted, left foot angled. And again, make sure you have space left and right, that your feet feel like they are hip distance apart. Right hand small of back, left arm reaches forward. I'm going to sweep myself to turn to the left. My hips turning as well. And then turn the hips forward, maybe bend into the right knee. Herein lies some of the challenge. As you turn forward and bend the right knee, can you avoid leaning out? So as you drop into the right knee, can it feel like you're sitting to the floor? Let's meet in your warrior one, hands in back pockets. Left foot firmly rooted to the ground. Your right knee is bent as much as kind of creates that space, hopefully for a left hip stretch. Your torso feels like it's facing the front. Notice if it feels like your back is arching. I'm going to encourage you to not arch here. So it might be a little tuck in of your low ribs. When you're ready, releasing hands, lengthening legs, and turn your body to face the left side of your space. I'm going to face you for triangle prep. Right foot still facing front. Left foot angled, pretty good stance and a balance beam front to back. And again, I'm just going to kind of shift through the hips. We all will approach this shape a little differently in how it feels for the hips, and it might feel different day to day. So when you find that sweet spot kind of facing the side, I'm going to hinge, preparing for triangle, but come back, hands at the hips. So just noticing what starts to wake up as you hinge here. Can it feel like your back doesn't move at all as you hinge? And then we find triangle with that option of hinging out. Right arm kind of slides down, left hand stays at your hip or the small of your back. This little half bind, we call it, where you might gently press into both hands to feel as though your left shoulder, is lifting and opening just a little more. Notice where your breath could be of service to you. Pressing through your feet, feeling your right ribs engage off the right thigh, then power through the feet, lift up, stretch up, expand up, hands to heart, turn all 10 toes fully now to that same side. Now we will go toes out, heels in. Offer is revolved goddess. So I'm going to sit down into the legs, kind of feel sumo squat-like, hands on thighs, thumbs on the inside, and I'm going to alternate a little drop of a shoulder and peeking over the opposite side. This is another one where it's really easy for me to arch my back. My hope is you're not. You are hinged at the waist, but I hope it doesn't feel like you're jutting your ribs forward or trying to stretch your chest. We're just finding this really straight spine, dropping one shoulder at a time. When you feel satisfied from a straight spine rising back up, maybe it feels good. I'm going to take another stretch to the ceiling. I like that sense of traction every once in a while and a breath to bring the hands down. And then again, turn your body to face the front of your mat. All we're doing is just kind of taking a pause. Hips neutral, spine straight, and then left foot starts to make its way back up to go to single leg Tadasana with left knee, stair stepping, balancing on right leg. Again, notice, I hope it feels like your hips are level, softening your right knee. Maybe you attempt to lift the knee higher with strength of the hip flexor. Yes, can you feel that engagement? On purpose. Let it be strong. I can tell when my hip flexors are feeling weak because this gets really fatigued in my body really quickly. And when you're ready, setting that foot down and what feels good to you. I don't know why I want to roll the wrists. We haven't been on the ground. Maybe you roll your ankles because you're choosing to, not because it was an accident. And maybe you give your spine a little rotation. We are going to take one more pass with just a couple of added movements. So one more time through with a little less lingering. I'm going to encourage you to have, if you've got them, blocks or dumbbells, one of them halfway down each side of your mat. And then we'll meet back at the top of the mat, feet hip distance, stepping your right foot back, finding your warrior one. If it helps you to turn your hips to the side and then turn them forward like we did, again, the bend of the left knee, whatever you like, and find an arm expression that serves you here. You could reach, you could cactus your arms or keep them at your back pockets. Can you feel, though, again, that we're not accidentally arching the back? That happens so accidentally in my body all the time here. Can you wiggle your right or your left toes? Take a breath in to soften to the floor. And then lengthen the legs, hands come in. Do that dance of your feet, literally there, walking and moving to set up your triangle pose. Left toes forward, right toes turned, you're in a balance beam. Again, any wiggles of the hips that set you up. Maybe you go more traditional this time with the reaching front to back first, and then extending out. Stick that right hip out, reach left fingertips over left toes, and then hinge. So you might be reaching floor to ceiling this time. Can you find length in your legs without locking them? Can you keep your left rib strong? Can you feel how your spine is still really tractioned and your shoulders are away from your ears, your neck is long? And then power through the feet to rise up, lift up, stretch up, hands come down, turn all 10 toes to complete that pivot to the right side of your mat. And now we're gonna take a wide fold. So I'm gonna have my toes in slightly from the heels. I like to bend at the waist and kind of swan dive my way down. Land your hands on a block, a dumbbell, or the ground or your mat. And then once again, let this be a conversation in your back body. Hamstrings, hopefully finding space with the legs long. Noticing if your back feels like it's rounded, either bending the knees more to lift your chest, or maybe you are kind of fully in more of that ragdoll shape. What's the conversation here between your back and your hamstrings? When you're ready, we're gonna rise through bear. So I'm gonna press my hands down under my chest, lift chin, bend the knees. Can you maintain your strong back by reaching the arms behind you? Don't let anything drop, and then push through the feet to reverse swan dive, reach up, stretch up. Exhale, hands to heart. Good, once again, walking your feet a little closer. Once again, just turning your body to face the front of your mat so you still have left foot in front, right foot back, hips land. And then once you're ready, right foot comes back up, again to single leg Tadasana. Feel free to stay here in this balancing shape with a neutral hip, or maybe you turn the knee open to find tree pose if a hip opener feels welcome. See where your range of motion is to determine where the right foot connects against the left leg. You might help it come above the knee if you got close on your own. Maybe your pants are too slippery. Doesn't matter. The determination of success here is not measured by the height of your knee. And again, maybe your hips prefer to be neutral. You don't have to find tree. Grow branches if you'd like. I encourage you to focus a place where you're looking and kind of let your gaze go soft. Invite in wobble. When you feel ready, it's your return to set the left foot next to the right. And again, maybe a little wiggle, maybe a little shake. If you want to join me, I'm actually going to do those cactus arms and chest press. I'm just going to find a little bit of intentional movement in my spine. This might end up feeling a little cow and cat if you want to, or maybe you want to focus on keeping your spine really straight and just moving through the shoulders. When you feel ready, arms come down. And we'll take our second pass, second side. So from your hip distance stance, left leg goes back for you to land in your warrior one in your time. Hips facing forward-ish. I'm not trying to force it or torque my hips or my back. And I'm bending into my right knee just a little bit so I can get that opening in left hip. And again, you have arm choices, right? There isn't a better way to position your arms. It's what feels like an expression of your body here. Notice if your back feels back bendy, or if you can actually draw yourself to be more vertical in your spine right here. One more full breath in, softening through your feet. Hands come to heart, lengthen, and do your little dance and walk to set up triangle facing the left side of your room. I'm gonna face you. Take your time. Make sure you got balanced beam feet. Make sure the angle of your hips feels right. Again, traditional triangle, if you'd like to join me with that, where we reach the arms way out, front to back, and then tilt. The shape is all about length. It isn't about depth necessarily. You don't have to try to touch the floor, but we're finding space, including through the neck. So notice if your shoulders feel like they're kind of creeping toward your ears. Keep lifting actively through your left ribs, and then power through the feet to rise up, lift up, stretch. Hands to heart. Turn all 10 toes to complete that turn to the long edge for a wide fold number 2 option to maybe come into it with a shoulder floss. So if it feels available to clasp your hands behind your back, you can do so. Maybe if not, you could actually grab for wrists or opposite elbows as another way to stretch the shoulders. And maybe if it feels okay, you head to your wide fold this way. So I like to bend my knees still and kind of fold my chest over my legs. And then maybe your fists lift away from your back body. This is just an option. If you are finding that shoulder floss, are your shoulders collapsing toward your ears? Could you still kind of draw your shoulder blades into your back? Stay as long as it's serving you. I do recommend if you're still there that maybe you do take that release and then spend just a few more breaths kind of completing what you need from this position of your body. Maybe you sway a little side to side. Maybe you find, again, almost like cows and cats of your spine, or maybe you're in that sweet spot where you're just holding in length. This time we're going to rise through goddess. Pressing your hands under your chest, lift your chin, turn your toes out, heels in. Can you sit into the legs and just give that hip moment? Just sit down in there and then slowly press through your feet to rise. Maybe you join me again for a really big stretch. Maybe you even stay. Press your shoulders away from your ears. Feel a little traction in your body. And then hands come down, walking your feet maybe a little closer before you turn back to face the front of your mat. And again, all it is just a transition moment where we just let the hips know, okay, new direction. And then as your left foot comes up next to right foot, lifting your left knee. Remember, you can stay in this balance in hip neutral, or maybe it feels right to go hip open more toward a tree pose. You might find your foot connects to a different position height-wise. You might again grow branches. What would it feel like for the base of this shape to literally feel like roots are growing into the floor beneath your right foot? I like to focus my gaze and almost just kind of soften my gaze. Let your jaw soften a little bit. Notice where you might be clenching. And when you feel ready, left foot will join next to right foot on the floor. And it becomes your kind of standing moment. It might be really shaky. It might be almost like a moment in mountain pose where you just land and feel some breath without movement. What else do you need while you're upright before we come down and really get kind of a little granular with the lower back and the hips? I'm going to meet you at the top of the mat with my block out in front. And when you feel ready, we're basically going to reverse it all back down. So I'm going to take one more liberating breath up and a thoughtful hinge, where maybe you spend time in more halfway lift, kind of deadlift position, maybe a ragdoll. Maybe you're ready to go to tabletop sooner rather than later. You enjoy the time at the top of the mat, what you need, and then we eventually lift chin and heart to start to step the limbs back to tabletop pose. There is no rush. I encourage you to back away from the top of your mat once you're in tabletop, so then you can take those final movements that serve your body, your brain in this moment. And maybe it takes just a generous, kind of slow approach to seeing what that might be. It might be a variation of cobra. It might be a little time in cows and cats. It might be a downward facing dog, a child's pose, maybe a little combination of multiple things. As we did earlier, I do encourage you to find a moment where you're able to land and pause. Knowing that sometimes I find in practice, staying still is harder than movement. Finding a breath in that expands your ribs and a breath out that softens your jaw. When you're ready, either coming to maybe sit briefly or tabletop, I'm going to offer just a series of movements here for spine and lower back and hips that are built from the belly, but I will give you variations from upright if you're either one, not on the belly, or you find some of the choices to just be not what serves you best. I have alternatives that do the same thing from upright. So if you're okay heading to the belly, let's start to make our way there. Again, just being thoughtful about it as you go. And if you're not on the belly, I'm going to encourage you to be in tabletop right now. Once you get to the belly, suggestion is to rest your hands under your chin on your hands, bend your knees, and just slowly windshield wiper sway. Letting the movement happen more from your hips than your knees. It can be really tiny, and for the first time probably this whole class, let's say let your belly soften. We don't say that very often. And then when you're ready, legs go long. If you're on the belly, we're going to find Sphinx pose, where your forearms go parallel on the ground, shoulders over elbows, palms spread wide, kind of peeling your heart up in a little back bend, legs active. If you're in tabletop, I'm going to invite you to come to the forearms and kind of find more of a cow pose. In Sphinx especially, push through the tops of your feet, float your knees off the ground, and pull your low waist in like you're trying to draw your belly button to your feet behind you. And then from Sphinx pose, can you bend at the right knee and extend over and over again with nothing else moving? If you are in that tabletop variation, I'm going to have you do donkey kicks with your right leg to the ceiling without moving your spine. When you are ready, maybe you take an intermission and lower briefly, We're going to do the left side. So if you need a pause between, go ahead. Otherwise, simply switching legs, keeping that same strength and integrity at your spine the whole time. Belly drawing in, or again from tabletop on forearms with those donkey kicks where your spine does not oscillate or wiggle. When you're ready, peel your body back down. If you were on the belly, bend the knees, give them a little sway. And then from here, legs go long, resting chin on hands. Can you bring your right knee out to the side like a little stair step, like an H? If you are in tabletop, I'm going to actually have you sit and go to deer pose with both knees to the left. Now, if you're on the belly, making sure that your lower back feels really comfortable. So you're kind of in this H. I'll show you from standing. Your back feels pretty neutral. And then from here, could you rotate at the hip to lift your lower leg off the floor and bring it back down? So it looks like my shin is kind of lifting off the ground. You're not trying to go the biggest you can, but it's keeping that stability again at your hip while you check range of motion, stability at your back. And if you're in that deer variation, you're doing the same thing with your right leg. Good. And then when you're ready, let's rinse that out. If you're on the belly, right leg goes long. I'm going to bend the right knee and I'm going to find a scorpion kind of rolling over onto my left side with that knee going across. You can switch back and forth. So even though we haven't done the left side yet, feel free to find those alternating scorpion openers. If you were in deer, we'll come back to tabletop and find alternating hip openers. If it feels better to linger on that right side for a few breaths, go ahead. But I found I kind of liked the back and forth. But then we'll, of course, find those offerings on the other side. So if you're on the belly, the legs go long. The left knee will go out like a little stair step, like a lowercase h. Again, I'll show you from standing. And I hope it feels really kind of uneventful, that position doesn't feel dramatic, that your lower back feels relatively neutral. If you're sitting, we're going to be in deer pose, both legs to the right. And then when you're ready, we try to rotate again at the hip to lift the lower leg off the floor. So this is so much little fine-tuned stability at the left hip, which again, this dialogue that we have between our lower back and our hips, we're just kind of working through that. Don't worry about how far you're going. It doesn't matter, especially if you're in your deer pose. That can be a challenging place to work this. And then when you're ready, left leg goes long. If you're okay staying on the belly, maybe again, those scorpion lifts, you can come off the belly though anytime. Maybe instead of scorpions, you prefer just those little windshield wiper sways. And again, if you were in deer, you could come back to tabletop and alternate hip openers. I know a lot of choice. I hope you found just some of that delightfulness, though subtle, in your body. In your time, if you were on the belly, really carefully, thoughtfully lifting into tabletop, maybe pausing there. You might want to take a little stretch in a child's pose. Just approach with care. We just did a lot for the back. So child's pose is kind of a big stretch. So just noticing if that does feel good. Maybe it would feel better to just come and sit. So give yourself a moment to kind of let it land. And as you're ready, that's where we will connect, is sitting on your mat with your feet toward the top of your mat. And there's no rush to get there. Remember at the beginning, we talked about perhaps that prop suggestion of like a rolled up blanket or a pillow, or you could use a yoga block, just not a cork block. So if your blocks are made of cork, I find them to be a little too abrasive for supported bridge, but that's going to be the offer when we get to the ground. And if you don't have anything, you can do an active bridge as well. So as you're ready, planting feet, taking our time to lower to our back. We always are thoughtful about it, but again, we've done so much for the spine. I'm going to hold my legs and just like really carefully unwind myself, almost feeling like each part of the spine rearticulates on its own. And once you're on the ground, taking that same approach to how we arrived. How are you right now physically? How are you emotionally, mentally? What is the version of you that's here right now? What do you need as I continue to offer a few more suggestions? Really tuning in, staying aware. So that idea of coming to supported bridge. I'm going to plant both feet about hip distance apart. If you prefer active bridge or you don't have something for support, by all means, you can lift up. I'm going to lift like I'm coming into bridge, but I'm going to slide my little object, blanket, pillow, block, kind of right at the small of the back. And as you let yourself literally soften over it, make adjustments. This should not feel painful. So you might have to kind of wiggle to find that sweet spot. Active bridge, please lift with everything, not just your glute muscles. It's a full back body lift. Here in supported bridge, kind of allowing yourself to melt over the top without forcing your ribs to arch, but just allowing yourself to give in. It doesn't have to be very high to be impactful. Maybe if you're in supported bridge, it might feel nice to extend the legs a little longer. I find I can get a little opening in my hip flexors. It does put more pressure over that object though. So noticing if that really gives you added support or space that feels welcome, or if any part of you feels resistant, there's no need to force it. What would it feel like to give into gravity just a little bit more? If you were in supported bridge, legs extended, let's carefully rebend. Coming back out of full bridge, or lift up your hips just enough to scoot out whatever was under them if you had supported, and then re-articulate your spine down really slowly. Take your time. Once your back is fully connected with the ground, I'm going to invite you to not move. Let your belly soften. It might feel like your knees are going to float open, but just pause briefly and then take a moment to scan. What else might your body need? Maybe a little sway of the knees, maybe a gentle hug in of the knees like we did earlier. Starting to just rinse out any added physical shape, pose, or movement that helps you come toward rest. Making space for your Shavasana on this day. Your body might splay out long on the ground, legs long, arms long. Maybe you do that constructed rest we kind of practiced at the beginning, where your feet plant, knees bent, and the knees actually drop in. You could curl up and lay on your side. This idea that if someone were to see you, it looks as though you are not moving. But how interesting when you think about what's stirring inside. Blood flow in your body, breath moving naturally. All the things that we explored by movement really just landing and tingling and coming to rest within you. And that's it. It's you right here. You are enough right in this moment, however things feel. Letting that softness take over, that limitless, no boundaries moment. This time for you. I will go off camera ever so briefly, and then I will bring you back after just a few more quiet moments. Inviting you to bring back that awareness where you're able to notice your body in this moment, just a little bit more intellectual space to hold without needing to do anything. As a way to even notice your body's craving right now, which may be to stay right where you are. I always wish you extended Shavasana if your time, space allows. Please feel free to do so. But as always, I'll give a little guidance, some space to maybe start to bring yourself back, encouraging you to keep your eyes closed if that's available, as you maybe find some movement, some deeper breaths, noticing how it feels to shift without bringing in that added input visually. Know that I'm here seated. You are welcome to join me if that makes sense for your body, for where you feel you are right now. Maybe wherever you're positioned, you bring both hands to gently rest over your heart. As always, I wish you so much peace and ease, and to leave you with a mantra that I've been holding, just this phrase that says, "Today is my peaceful day." I hope you can take that off of your mat as almost a stake in the ground of carrying this peace with you, no matter what may come across the rest of the day for you. Thank you so much for inviting me into the day. I'm so humbly grateful to be here with all of you. And as always, I acknowledge the greatness, the love, and light in each and every one of you with that symbolic word that means just that. Namaste. Thank you all so very much.